Assalamu alaikum. Good evening. You know, I was delivered with this package last evening. I have only glanced through it. And when I walked into this hall this evening, I met a lot of people we've met before, and always on occasions such as these, where we were celebrating something Ikram Seghal had pulled off. But today when I walked in, I walked up to Mr. Ikram Seghal and I said, you know, I know him for something like a little less than 20 years, the period over which, the 2 decades over which these volumes are spread over. And I said, Mr. Ikram Seghal, I thought you were done with impressing me. There's nothing more that you can do that's going to impress me further, but you've pulled it off just one more time. For the last 2 years, I've been reading his articles. I find them insightful. I find them having an alternative view. And I also vouch for the fact that they are usually backed with research and insights which are of value to people who choose to read them. The volumes that are being launched today are, most of you probably know, are 12 in number. And when I opened the box, I said, oh my God, they're like a rainbow. It's a rainbow volume that is out there, not just because of the colors, but also because it is from 1980 to 2020. I call this a period when Pakistan was what we call on a roller coaster ride, geoeconomically, geostrategically, and politically. And when a country is going through such turbulent times and you're writing about it, it is very hard to have consistency of view and say things without having an agenda. And if you have the courage to put them forward out there in the public domain, the work that you've done over 20 years, the things that you've written over 20 years, on what side of things you have been for 20 years, it's an act of courage. So I think for that, we need to give Ikram Seghal Sahib a huge hand.
The very best way to celebrate the publication of Ikram Seghal's life story and of his contributions to public life over the past 40 years would be to read his remarkable book that is being launched today. The book clearly signifies what we all know about Ikram's dedication, commitment, common sense, and generosity of spirit. His contributions to public discourse and discussions of important national issues that are displayed in this book are a reflection of his hard work, loyalty, and commitment to Pakistan and its people. Ikram is a very close friend. Actually, more than that, he is a brother and is one of the most accomplished and dedicated people I know. I have come to value his achievements and his counsel. As the dedications of the various volumes in the book show, he is truly inspired by his deep love for his country, for his family, for his mentors, and for his friends and colleagues alike. We naturally praise Ikram Seghal for his great success throughout his life. Ikram has marshaled his education, his experience, his intellect, and his character to produce work of the highest quality. We also appreciate Ikram's understanding of Pakistan's national aspirations, as is clearly evident in the various articles of this book. He has witnessed the country's successful quest to become a truly global force for progress, not only a center for finance, business, education, technology, and culture, but also a nurturing source of innovation and creativity that promises to benefit the whole world. Ikram, my dear brother, I know what a commitment you have made to your beloved country over your lifetime. I'm honored to have this opportunity to pay tribute to you. You have my highest regards and sincerest gratitude for the excellent work you have done. In my opinion, this book will inspire readers everywhere. On behalf of everyone assembled here today, I thank you for this compilation of the articles you have written over the last 40 years that tell your story and represent a sterling credit to you and to Pakistan itself. I am confident that this book will help to promote knowledge and pride in Pakistan and its great people.
Ikram, thank you for inviting me to be with you today. It's exciting to hear about your new book, to have the book launch and have a book signing. I wish I could have been with you, but I hope this video message will suffice. You should have a very good day, and I know that your friends are going to enjoy the richness of your book and learning more about you and your great career. I hope somebody today will also ask you some helicopter pilot stories, and you can talk about your amazing flying career. I wish you the best. I look forward to seeing you and your family very soon. Thank you.
Thank you very much for those kind words, Dr. Bukai. First and foremost, General Saab, Javed Jabbar Saab, and of course the author. What an awesome compilation it is. I got last night this particular beautifully colored package. I was impressed with the color scheme first and foremost, and then when I looked at the books and the combination of the books in terms of titling of the books, amazing titles. I don't know how Mr. Ikram Seghal does this, but yeah, I read his articles almost every week in various newspapers that he contributes to, but then finding it in the form of this amazing 12-volume books is really wonderful. And I think all of you should be equally proud of the fact that, you know, these books that have been printed in Pakistan, I was amazed at the quality of the printing, and most importantly, something that is lacking most of the times in our country is the binding. It's of international standards. And I felt so proud as a Pakistani that it's been done by a publication or a publishing house in Lahore who have managed to do this. So it's amazing. I mean, amazing at the choice of the subjects. He can write on internal security, external security, foreign policy, economic policy, social issues, ethical issues, moral issues, banking, the good, the bad, and the ugly of it, state bank autonomy, what it should be, what it shouldn't be. What else? Which is one subject that you haven't written about, Ikram Sahab? Possibly he needs to write a little bit about Madhuri Dixit, a little about Bollywood, a little about Hollywood. Those are the only subjects I were missing in the book. Otherwise, everything else is covered. And the titles that he chooses for his articles, that's again very amazing. Teen Sukhi Roti for an English article. There is one article on foreign policy, and it's titled Who Knows Dilli Durast? Did I get that correct? Durast, yeah, that's one. And then there's this mango series. I mean, if you can have apple, why can't we have mango? We can have a Kino Republic as well, right? So we have a Mango Republic there. Such an interesting piece on Mango Republic. And the series of articles on mango. Then there are other titles that I liked most was Tea with Sympathy. I haven't read the article, so I don't know what it would mean, tea with sympathy. I'll go back and look at the... Of course, we all got it only last night, so couldn't browse through properly. But a little bit about my personal relationship with Ikram Sahab. It's important for me to recount that. I've known Ikram Sahab for now almost about 16, 17 years. First as at Bank Al-Falah. I shouldn't have mentioned the name, but then the chairman of the bank was there, so it's all right. We worked together there. He was part of the board, I was part of the management. And then, as luck would have it, I happened to be heading the bank at one point in time when the worst nightmare for a banker happened to me, which was a run on the bank. Purely based on rumor. There was nothing, no truth about the reason for the run. But at that point in time, he stood like a rock, a Gibraltar rock for the entire institution. It is a magnum opus, I would think, and a great effort for historians to read, for researchers to take research from it, and to be able to write something of their own. I wish you Best of luck and continue writing, and do change the subject a little more towards, possibly, as I recommended, Hollywood. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
For Pakistan, Ikram Seghal is such a person. A pilot, military officer, war hero, and successful businessman, he brings to his writing an extraordinary breadth of experience. He's also a most engaging writer. Mr. Sehgal's readers agree with all his conclusions. Indeed, sometimes he leaves me scratching my head or even disagreeing outright. That's just as it should be. For Sehgal is not a dogmatist. It is no accident that I read him for his careful presentation of often neglected data and for his ability to respectfully consider other interpretations beside his own. In short, he's not a polemicist, but a true educator who deserves to be recognized as such. Today, we're all celebrating the publication of 12, think of it, 12 volumes of Ikram Seghal's collected essays. This should have happened long ago. Thinking back, I feel silly having encouraged him years ago to publish more abroad without appreciating the sheer quantity, range, and quality of his existing writings in Pakistan. For all his achievements, our Ikram is a modest man. I'm honored to join you in this celebration. I do so with deep respect for our author, who's rightly acknowledged for the depths of his insights on Pakistan, on its neighbors and the broader region, and on our infinitely complex global world today. I thank Mr. Seghal for all he has done and will await volume 13 of this series with keen anticipation.
I would like to congratulate Ikram Seghal on the publication of his 12 volumes of a personal chronicle of Pakistan. I really regret that I'm not able to attend in person, but I still feel that I'm with you today. So, as someone who's read a lot of the articles when they were first published, I find it a fascinating chronicle of the history of Pakistan, the surrounding areas, and world politics over a 40-year span, from somebody who was both a participant in events and was also impacted events. What's really important about this volume is that Pakistan is not very well understood in the outside. Most of the information people receive is from people who are expats or who have an axe to grind with Pakistan. The beauty of the Chronicles is that it's written from the perspective of somebody who truly loves Pakistan and feels Pakistan has a future and has great potential. However, Ikram does not write a book that is glowing and always complimentary. He's very critical, regardless of who's been in power, who are the political parties. He gives a fair and honest assessment of Pakistan and of the neighboring countries, as well as the geopolitics that take place in the region and in the world in general. So I would highly recommend this book to anybody. Also, on a personal note, I would like to say a little bit about the man, since understanding the man helps understand the book itself. So Ikram is somebody who I would consider a very righteous man and a family man. He's somebody who lives his family values and implements his family values in running his business as a large family where he takes care of people who work for him. I myself have gotten to know Ikram, and we jokingly refer to each other as I'm his Jewish cousin and he's my Muslim cousin. We've had a wonderful time together with our families. My wife and I look forward every year to getting together with Ikram's extended family and talking about just about any subject that comes to our minds. So again, taking this back to the book will be a fascinating journey for you, taking you through the mind's journey of Ikram Seghal as he explains the political realities and the potential future of Pakistan over a 40-year period. So thank you and best wishes to Ikram.
This initiative of writing a formidable set of 12 volumes, an unprecedented accomplishment, but also a tribute to all of you for having taken the trouble and the interest to come here. So thank you for being here on behalf of the author. And my compliments to Ikram Seghal are reinforced by the fact that this remarkable collection is perhaps an unprecedented expression of simultaneity and consecutivity. I don't want to make too complex a word, but it occurred to me that sometimes consecutivity is the logical structure to follow. You know, you write something in 1980, you write something again 81, 82, 83. So that's consecutivity. And in 1985, you compile an anthology of what you've written over the past 5 years. I mean, poor, struggling writers like myself have done it. And I've done, you know, some anthologies. And you do it because you want to see how you have looked at the world over 5 years. And you want others to look at it. But in this case, it's not just consecutivity. At one and the same time, to the best of my knowledge, there is no previous example of any writer, and I say this ungrudgingly because I also have pretensions to be a writer, no other writer has managed to produce simultaneously as many as 12 volumes together at one and the same time. Fantastic, remarkable. I mean, it's like bowling out 10 batsmen, and it's very easy to bowl out 10 Pakistani batsmen these days in case you're playing a one-day match in England. But fortunately, they've retrieved their honor with their T20. But it's like bowling out 10 characters within 2 overs or what have you. So this is a phenomenal achievement. Detailed attention to quality is a rare combination of content and form, of aesthetics and content. And that comes through, not only in the quality of the paper and the printing, but the choice of colors, the choice of the titles, the choice of the designs on each book. I mean, look at the titles he's chosen. They are very interesting. First of all, my favorite institution, he calls Leave the Army Alone. Oh, leave the army alone. I'll have something to say about that later. But then he says, converting garbage into dreams. Wow, wow, wow. 1992 to 1994. The Wages of Truth, 1995-97. Till death, not D-E-A-T-H, Khudana Khasta, till death do us apart. Power Play, Facet to Nowhere, The Gathering Gloom, The Years of Darkness, Merit Can Be a Disqualifier, A State of Hypocrisy, Light at the End of the Tunnel. Oh my God, that would gladden the heart of the PTI because it covers 2017-18. Oh, we should have had a minister from the PTI as chief guest. And then the 12th one, Challenging Pakistan's Destiny, 2019-2020. So, Ikram, all power to your pen and all good health to you. Thank you very much.
Very emotional moment for me to give this message at the occasion where we mark the birth of 2 great personalities, Jenabali Sehgal father and Jenabali Sehgal son. The life of Ikram Seghal resembles to those lives we read about in the books dedicated to the heroes of antique cities who seemed to have not 1 but 10 lives full of adventure and extraordinary facts. Impossible to sum up this adventure, but let's say in a word that I might describe this as a non-aligned life. Mr. Sehgal cannot be put in a case. His body cannot be imprisoned because he escapes. His spirit also cannot be imprisoned. He escapes. This free body and this free spirit, you can feel them in the faraway houses and schools and mosques and minarets. He keeps building in the mountain. And you can also feel the free spirit in the always captivating books and articles he keeps writing. I'm fortunate and humbled to have such a friend who is illustrating so well what a man and what Pakistan can achieve with work and courage. Thank you for this occasion of expressing my great respect for Mr. Sehgal family, father, mother and son, and for the country they dedicated their lives to. Khudafez, Shukriya.
As anyone who's read Ikram Seghal's columns over the years will know, he is a very prolific writer. And not just that, he writes on a huge array of topics. There's all the stuff that you would expect from a Pakistani columnist on what's gone on this week or this month, but also broader topics, deeper topics, things such as military strategy, economics, which obviously with his vantage point of being one of the country's leading businessmen he's able to pronounce on, and also just moral issues such as inequality. There are some very powerful articles in which Ikram Seghal is effectively complaining about some of the people he might naturally move around with, meet in his business career, not being more concerned about what anyone would really have to see as the gross levels of inequality in Pakistan. So there's a huge range of material. Not only that, there is a global perspective, and that's perhaps one of the most useful things he can bring to his columns and therefore by extension to these books, because as someone who attends Davos, as someone, that's the World Economic Forum in Switzerland where the world's leading political and business figures meet, but also travelling widely in the US, in Europe and the UK, it does give a different perspective, which many Pakistani commentators, journalists and so on lack. And therefore, it is a really important perspective for Pakistan to have commentary from people who understand where the country is in the broader scheme of international affairs. There is a common theme to all this material. Ikram Seghal is fiercely patriotic, as most Pakistanis are, and that is reflected in the columns. And he's also hopeful that the military can institute change in Pakistan, to a greater degree probably than many of his liberal readers. But underneath that, there is a real understanding of the limits of military power and the desirability of civilian government if it can be done in a non-corrupt way. So there's an awful lot of material in these articles, in the collected works that he's put together here, and I recommend them to you.
Ikram Seghal Saab and audience, Assalamu Alaikum. It's indeed an honor for me to be standing here today and talking about the works of a person whose writings I have known for more than 2 decades, and my personal association with him in person is for about 3 years old. But since we both belong to a profession of soldiering and we have the honor of defending this motherland of ours, the bond becomes timeless. I feel I can empathize with this period of fighting, which was in the 60s and 70s, as much as he can empathize with my period of fighting and soldiering when he was wearing the civilian dresses. The fact that Ikram Sahab has, over a period of time, seen so much of diversity in life is reflected in the 12 volumes which are here in front of us. To drown him, he rides the wave and goes higher. And that is exactly what one gathers from his writing. The period of his writing covers some of the very, very dark days of our history. It also covers some of the very challenging and momentous moments. But never will you find in his writing something which is depressing. And he always ends his words with either a hope or at least a way forward of where we can get out of those challenges that are at that stage hurting our existence or our growth. In the last 2 years, which are covered in volume 12, I have been partner with him in some of his crimes, so that gives me special pleasure. I know for a fact how, when K Electric's decisions were being taken, his decisions were on the side of the nation and not on the side of the corporate business. This coming from a person who has built a successful business himself actually speaks that his intention has never been money. And as I keep telling my children, and my son is also here because I wanted him to be here with Sehgal Sahab, that if you are working for a cause or if you are working for what you believe in, the money comes to you incidentally, and that is not the main purpose. The same thing I feel over the more than 2 decades that I've been reading Ikram Seghal is reflected in his personality and in this book. Another important aspect of this collection, which has already been highlighted and which to me is very dear, whenever we talk to people outside Pakistan in academia, they always talk about lack of Pakistani resources and Pakistani perspective on the issues and challenges that face Pakistan. So ultimately the researchers go to the narratives and perspectives which are not very, very amenable to our country and which don't take into stock our own limitations and our problems. The resultant new book adds to the volumes that already exist. I think this is such a beautiful collection of past 40 years of events that any researcher which will come to these volumes will find something, and he will find the raw truth. And that truth will help him decide what is right and what is wrong. So I think this is a very, very invaluable contribution that you have made by collecting all this into these 12 volume set. I would wish happy reading to all of those who lay their hands on this. I think it's a very, very significant compilation of history. And one more thing I should have mentioned earlier. Generally, I don't have a very high opinion about current event writers, the writing on the current events. It is written without the adequate background. It is a knee-jerk response to an event which is happening. And most of the times, as the time passes, you tend to forget what was written and it becomes irrelevant. My last night's reading and today's reading has actually told me that Ikram Sahab's perspectives have been proven right most of the time. He has written with sincerity. So whatever he has written, he's written based on knowledge, conviction and experience. Because he's not just a man of words, he's a man of the world also. He has lived what he has said. So that particular aspect will also come in handy to people who are talking about this book and who are going to consult this book. Thank you very much, sir, for giving me this opportunity to say something which I wanted to say about you. Thank you.
I've known Ikram, or Chan, the name by which he is known to all his friends in Bangladesh and Pakistan for a long time now. And through this period, he has never ceased to amaze me with the varied facets of his prodigious capabilities. Chan is well and truly a modern-day Renaissance man. Scion of a military family, he started off as an infantry soldier, an officer and gentleman, and evolved into a man of letters, able to meticulously pen his thoughts and ideas reflected in the volumes that we perceive today. he did not just rest there. He employed his vast organizing skills to build up this elaborate security empire, the Pathfinder, whose reputation has traveled beyond the borders of his own country to the rest of South Asia. These volumes that are being launched today tell the tale of the travails and toils, of the successes and achievements of a people and a region, and Chand's own role in that milieu. An exposure to the volumes will demonstrate that that is Chand's role, was not at all insignificant. I would fervently hope and pray that Chand continues to add many more feathers to his cap, and would wish him success in all his future endeavors, of which, knowing him as I do, there will be many. Thank you.
Dear Ikram, the launch of a personal chronicle of Pakistan is a momentous day for you as a writer. It's also an opportunity for all of us to reflect on the defining period of Pakistan's history as seen from your privileged vantage point. I say privileged not because you have lived an easy life. In fact, judging by another one of your books, Escape from Oblivion, even in the short span of your youth, you appear to have lived several very challenging lives. The important thing, however, is not only did you survive each period of struggle, but thanks to your principled determination, you were able to flourish in each distinct chapter of your life. No doubt, you had to make difficult choices, whether or not to risk your life in a daring escape from a prisoner of war camp, whether or not to move on from army, which was such an integral part of your identity, whether or not to leave a secure profession as a commercial pilot to set up your own business, whether or not to enter the fray of Pakistani public life with the publication of your first column. The silver thread linking your escape from a prisoner of war camp to the launch of these 12 volumes today is your commitment to doing something meaningful with the life that we have all been given. This commitment of yours naturally extended to a desire for your country of birth to develop a meaningful economic and diplomatic role for itself in the region and the world, leading to your long-standing engagement with the World Economic Forum. For several years, recently also with your son, Sarar, you have flown the flag of Pakistan at the forum's annual meeting in Davos, doing your part to make sure that the business community and the government is properly represented alongside other nations. Behind your writing is a desire to see Pakistan's potential fulfilled, both by courageously pointing out what does not work and by having the vision to identify new opportunities for its development. And Pakistan has many opportunities. As such, these volumes are a gift to the next generation who would do well to follow your principled example in both business and public life. Dear Ikram, my sincere congratulations on the launch of these 12 volumes. Also my congratulations and full respect for what you have achieved both in business and in public life, and even more important, for standing up for important values in your country and globally.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for the man himself, Ikram Seghal, the institution himself.
Bismillahir-Rahmanir-Rahim. At the very first, I would like to thank all those who helped made this possible. People think that the writing is by itself this thing, but there's so many other things to writing. First, particularly somebody who cannot type and writes in longhand, and then hopes that his secretary will decipher his hieroglyphics and put it down. So first of all, let me thank two people, Humaira and Zeib, who are here. And I must thank Dr. Bettina Rabotka, because without her, it was not possible to put it together, right? And there were a lot of screaming and shouting at her which went on, but she managed to go through it and put it back into some sense. So thank you, Bettina. I would like to thank Mr. Arshad Hussain, who is not here. His parents were coming today at this time, so he had to go away. I would like to thank Rahila Bakai, and of course, thank Gausia Ali, who was in charge of the editing, and not the least, Samuel Ray. He got the brunt of it, and he was the one who was doing it on a daily basis, etc. He was the one mandated by Oxford University Press, and I'm very grateful to OUP for that. Beyond that, I particularly put this volume there because I want you to understand why I'm so proud of Pakistan. I think Pakistanis can do anything. They're capable of it. You give them the right leadership, they're capable of doing anything. And I tell you, Oxford University Press put me through to the printers, and Topical printers who printed this book, 1,500 copies of each volume, 12 volumes. They started printing actually on 29th of June. And they said they would be ready by they said that they'd be ready by the 14th of July. They were then around 7th July. They said it'll take 2 more days, and they said 4 o'clock on 16th July. I cannot tell you that I just got lucky. I just got lucky because I think this was a totally tremendous achievement. This is a gentleman out of Kasur who started this process, involved his cousin, both graduates of NCA. And I requested him, and particularly for me, he flew in here, and I'd like him to stand up wherever he is, Mr. Nasir Baloch. This amazing compilation, compilation of course, my thing, but the way they put it together, the way they kept on schedule, they kept, etc. And right at 4 o'clock on 16th July, no, 15th July, sorry, 4 o'clock on 15th July, they delivered it to us. And they said, yes, you can take it. And then, of course, I must tell you that I'm very grateful to those executives of mine, Captain Parvez and Colonel Mazhar, who were in Lahore. I personally spoke to the driver, OS, and he was from my company. And I said, OS, प्लीज़ आप रेस्ट करिएगा रास्ते में, जल्दी ना करें. The convoy drove all night to Moro. They did not stop. I had to order them to stop at Moro. I told him, no, you will stop at Moro, you will rest. But then I estimated, I told my staff to be ready by 6 o'clock in the afternoon. They were here at 2 o'clock on 16th. Right? And that is why I've got all my drivers and my guards sitting at the back, because I must recognize them. I must recognize that it is their effort. They said, got it here in 14 hours. That is something which you must be proud of. I would like to, also thank for this thing. Asfar Hasnan is not here. He's gone for medical checkup. And Tufail, who put this event together. The speakers, what can one say? I was very careful about speakers. Some wanted to fly down from Karachi from Islamabad. And I requested them, I said, I will have a event in Islamabad and later, and you can be there. But here in Karachi, of course, I chose with great care, because I know each of them would have been reading my articles or would be glancing. Of course, I did not, this thing was all three, rather all four of them, Umma, General Aziz, Javed Jabbar and Sirajuddin, went through my books last night, and I'm so grateful to you for that. And each of them, in his own capacity, is somebody. Umma, of course, in the IBA, I say this openly, this thing, etc. I'm sorry to say this, embarrass you, Umma. Her boss, who's the boss today, talked about CPEC when I was there, and he told the audience that CPEC is a figment of imagination. Today, this man has been put as the IBA chief. He's going to tell his students that CPEC is a figment of my imagination. So I had, been lucky that Huma, we associate with her in the Karachi Council for Foreign Relations. She's a vice president there. And of course, Sirajuddin Aziz Saab, like he's mentioned, many other things in the banks, but let me tell you about the banks, that thing, etc. When I was appointed as a director in the bank, I knew a little bit because I started business, etc., etc. But I must tell you, as a soldier, when I came out and I came the first time against an LC, I thought LC was a girl, not a letter of credit. So, I learned on the way, and when I got into the board of a bank, for 3 years I kept quiet. The terms were not known to me. It took me 3 years to sit down quietly and learn the terms. And then, of course, once I learned the terms, I gave a little bit of a hard thing to all the other directors, and Siraj Saab knows about it, but he's right. I must commend him. Let me tell you, a run on a bank is where people take out their own money from the bank. When they take out the money from a bank, time comes, because no bank ever carries all that money itself in that thing. A time comes when the bank closes its door. When the bank closes its door, the bank collapses. People think one bank would have collapsed. There are at least 7, 8 banks would have collapsed. The economy of Pakistan would have hit. And Siraj Saab, I'm proud the way you did it. I was just in support, right? But the way you did it, not once, twice. And as usual, somebody else got the credit, of course. But that is beside the point. Anyway, and Javed, I'll tell you a secret. I went to General Musharraf and I said, you slotted Javed wrongly. He said, why? I said, Rashid Qureshi will never back his side. Slotted wrongly. I said, Rashid Qureshi will never leave his backside. He wants to run the information ministry. He said, where do we put Javed? I said, he is the perfect choice to be the foreign minister of Pakistan. I said, he knows so much and he can put it across in such a convincing manner. He would have been the ideal foreign minister for Pakistan. I almost convinced him. Of course, I failed. Anyway, and of course, General Humayun Aziz. What can one say? We met late in life. I was stunned by his depth of knowledge. He has mentioned, let me start with something that he had mentioned about Karachi Electric. I will say that openly. Once I was in Karachi Electric, till that time, I had no knowledge of exactly what was going on. Actually, Karachi Electric, actually the shareholders of Karachi Electric are not the shareholders of Karachi Electric. It is wrong. It's in the hand of liquidators. Abraj Group is under liquidation, and it's a fraud run on the people of Pakistan, right? That they have the majority shareholding, this, that, and connivances right up the bureaucracy, right up to the ministerial change. All of them are part of it, right? And they wanted to sell it off. Yes, do sell it, but it's a strategic interest, strategic thing, and you cannot sell your strategic interest to foreigners. You may be your best friend, and I welcome the Chinese investment, but not the complete majority. It had to be, and there were Pakistanis ready to buy. The Pakistanis ready to put. One of them is sitting right here, Haji Rafiq Pardesi. He said, we'll put the money together and we'll get this thing, right? But nobody was ready to listen to the Pakistani businessmen put the money together and buy the shares of Abraj, if nothing else, and then let it, they went on and they wanted to open up another two power stations. Good God. Somebody is not here, and in fact, General Aziz's chief of staff was Brigadier Sami, now promoted to Major Sami. He worked it out and he said, sir, we have 4,000 megawatts of electricity spare in this area. Why do we need power stations, right? And so we fought it out. Of course, the powers that be can go around and project people, and they have all very vested interest how to do that. And so luckily, because of our tough thing, one of the power stations was dropped, at least. So $900 million was saved, but about $700 million went in the other power station, which was not needed. You didn't need that power station. You had so much electricity here that is coming out of your ears. But unfortunately, it's not the way it should have been transmitted and the way it should have been distributed. That was the only thing. If you had broken up Karachi Electric into 6 or maybe 12 parts, you would have got a very good result. Karachi Electric has very good employees. It has got very good systems. It's just a question of the owners. They don't want it to happen. They just want to sell out. That's all. And they want to sell out. There's no love for Pakistan, right? There's no love for Pakistan. They just want to sell out interest and just run away from here, right? So I'm grateful, sir, for that time he did things, etc. But not only that, his knowledge, military affairs, his knowledge of other things, and then of course something ceremony that we're having together tomorrow to honor him. When came to him and I told him, I said, sir, Humayun, we go to the Qadi-Azam's Mazar and we go there, and it is a photo opportunity. Nobody really believes in that man there. He just go there, take photographs, see the photographs and go home. I said, the Qaid was somebody that we all looked up to, who had done something, his sayings, etc. It should be this thing. So we agreed, we said, fine, we got involved, Liaquat Merchant in it, and that thing, etc. And the Flagstaff house that you see has been made, that thing, etc., to an Institute of Nation Building, where we are trying to build up behind the house. There is about 3,000 square yards open, which we're trying to build up a world-class auditorium, a world-class audiovisual library devoted to the Qaid, and absolute with an underground car park, etc., which we're working on. Mr. Akil Bilgrami is here. I saw him come in. Yes, there he is. And he is the one, pro bono, free of cost. He's doing the design work, etc. And Haji Rafiq Saab is the head of the Resource Mobilization Committee, of course. And, obviously, many people have come to us and said, all our financial support will be with you. For the Qaid, we'll do anything. So, inshallah, that will come up. And for that, we're grateful to you. Actually. Thank you all for coming, for listening to me. I'm very grateful. I'm very grateful to all of you who have assembled here. I'm grateful to the panel of speakers, to the people who have worked hard setting this up, and the people who have worked hard. This thing, I repeat, it is a matter of honor. It's a matter of pride being a Pakistani. There is no better thing in life. No better thing in life. When my wife Shanaz was keen to get a green card, I said, no, I'm not getting a green card. My son said, why not? I said, no. I think here is where my people who have served with me, have died with me alongside. Their graves are here. We live and die in Pakistan as Pakistanis. Thank you.